All right. Now I want to talk about a story. You could say it could be a movie later on as we go through life experiences or hear about stories and things. It helps us create finance later on. And I've come up with a lot of movies if I ever get in that era. And it got me guidelines of how I can get it started. And I've got a brain to keep continuing it, which is pretty cool. So I can turn a bad factor into a good factor, a little bit like Eminem. So I want to speak about a story, and I want to call these people a name. We've got to give them a name in this story. It's based on a true story, and in this name, I'm going to call them Ash, as they like to raise from the ashes in a certain way, as we all do. Right? And in this story, it'll talk about how they raised up from the ashes. Right? These people, Ash and their friends. Right? As I've got other head titles I've used, but this one's going to be called Ash and Their Friends and How They Raise from the Ashes. Right? And when you go back to check out things, you want to see patterns and possibilities. So I'm going to give you a pattern and possibility as the story goes. Now, with this story, Ash, a long time ago, had a girlfriend. We're going to round it out real quick, so really quickly do you understand the feelings of the Ash. Right? A long time ago, had a girlfriend. As we all do, off and on, had lots of them at school days. And as they got older, they see each other all the time as they live in the same town, right? And then one day, they just they end up seeing that the other person has got another person, and they're staying with them. And they always think, oh shit, perhaps I should have stayed with this person. Perhaps I should have done that choice. Perhaps, right? Or thought about doing such things. And so they truck along with their life, and so does the other people. The other people end up they mingle. So Ash gets to see the ex and gets to see who they're with, and they mingle around. They have a lot of problems in life, Ash. But the other person has the same thing, but seems to have a plan to get out of things and trucks along. Where the other one seems to get a little bit more angry, probably wasn't well looked after in certain conditions, as we all get different parents, and struggled more in life, as a lot of us do. But in the end, because of such the society, Ash runs into a group that all have the same kind of ideas with the same plan to get to the same thing, right? And so that's the friends. So you call them Ash and friends, right? And you can even call it your enemies, as sometimes their friends could be enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? And so we get to a story where these people had struggled, the ones that he's watching with the girlfriend, and he was hoping that he would get it. But then all of a sudden, they start getting better. And this other person, Ash, they did wrong decisions in life with their anger and issues that they had. And they end up getting locked up from having a firearm in Australia and using that with their anger, right? And that got them locked up. When that happened, their life changed dramatically, as it does when people get locked up. Then the person comes out of jail. When they get out of jail, the other person has got their life together. Finally got there, finally getting somewhere. They praise them. They're surprised that they're getting somewhere. The other person helps them out a little bit. The other person goes quiet, comes back when the other person went through something hard. As sometimes people feel like that they can mingle better when someone's struggling like themselves, or they feel better when someone's struggling. And so you might find certain people turn up at certain times. And they turn up again. But the other people, they've changed too much. And what they used to talk about and say, they don't do anymore, or they don't care. And they turned up with their old ways of scheming and doing other naughty things, as that's what they've been used to and what's around them. And they went to jail, and instead of learning more things to the righteous way, they learned to be more in the evil way. Perhaps they even become friends with with a police instead of a jail person. And either way, they come out differently, right? They come out to deceive, to do their old ways to deceive, or they come out just to do their old ways and do it better. And the person turns up and sees that you have good time. You're finally having a good time in your life. You have been for about a year or two. And they enjoy your parties. You're having parties and they party with you. And then after a little while, you start to notice a pattern that these things start happening since certain people started being around. Then you start to notice that these certain people start to work together, do funny, odd things together to get an outcome that they believe that they might want. Now let's keep on going. Now the outcome is in the end to either investigate and set up, as some people get out of the jail, and to get a good behaviour and a way, and cops use old jail people to set up people or to find out what people are doing to get more people so you can have a smaller sentence or a better life after jail. Happens all the time, right? Or they have the other way, right? But we'll say it's either one, because either one could be in this story to the end outcome, right? As they have friends to do things. Now, say the police officer is a law-abiding citizen of North Korea, you know what I mean? And their religion, in their own religion only, they don't connect with anyone else. Theirs is the way. What would you get from such people? Would you get in a sudden attack? If they wanted to use undercover people, you could. So that could be part of the movie. There's two ways of this movie, right, that I can make later on. Do two of them at the same thing. One can be part one, part two, I guess. With two different outcomes, right? And what you see is this person turns up and other friends come in first, and you might see them in the background. Then you hear friends of theirs speak about certain things and they shall not be spoken to, and all these things, and you have weird things. A little bit like what I've talked about on my internet site, right? It's that group, right? And they play around and they like to do certain things where they can get you a date, or as long as you like them and help them, you can join them, right? And so what you see after this is this Ashley turns up, and then instead of speaking about the things you do, they're speaking about their new upgrade of what they've learnt, either undercover to set you up, or they've actually learnt it. You do not know, as you're different and do not know them too much, as the story goes, as what I've mentioned. And so they ask if you want to rip off the tax system to get lots of money. And as they speak this, you end up seeing them get exactly the same vehicle as you very quickly. And it took you many years to get these things. Started to get all the same things that you got, but very quickly. And at the same time, you start to see their friends do it too. So you go, shit, should I be like them? Or are they getting it, this stuff because they're trying to set people up? Two ways of the movie, right? But more likely, they're the bad one, right? The setup one I'm just chucking in because, you know, it can happen out there. And the story goes further on that the police are involved, people are trying to stop, and they're all getting together, right? And so the Ash asks us, do you want to rip off the system? You go, no, 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 no. And you have other people going, look, if you just sign this piece of paper, you can get $6,000. And then you go, no, and they have a fight with you. And all these things. And you look at it and you go, what are they doing? They either want to help me and I don't want to join them so they hate me, or do they want to set you up? That'll be the ending stories of these movies. Pretty interesting, right? And then after that, you start to see, when that happens, that your life goes to shit. And nothing happens. And it all happens because it's one of those scenarios. You can even chuck in witchery, some strange witchery going on. And they're using voodoo dolls and stuff. That makes the movie very interesting, doesn't it? And they do all this because the Ash person, that's not the main person. He ends up being all this because of either the undercover or someone else that knew about the Ash person and wanted to help them and knew that they would want to get money and get going quickly, right? And all these people start copying as well. You find all these strange things. But anyway, let me know what you believe, what you see in this story. This Ash person's connected to your family. So at this time, you see all these incidents happen. As you go down, they go up. Now, in the movie, it'll show that they're doing unrighteous things to righteous people. That's how the movies will go. And how the unrighteous wins. And that sucks, but that's just the way it is. And it's entertainment too. Huh? What else could I chuck in there just before I go? I pretty much got the story down, Pat. And so we find out in the end, I can't give you all of it because otherwise you'd know this movie, they don't do that. that it's one of the other reasons why they're doing it, or it's all the above. All right, but you will find when this happens that these other characters will all be doing similar things, but in different ways. And then they all work together to get their outcomes. Pretty amazing, eh? But you're going to have to wait to see my movies if I get to live to get to do it. And see you later.